Today I have my top 6 tips for if you are starting out with histamine intolerance that I have learned in the going on 2 years that I've been dealing with this. Tip number 1. Pick one food item from each category that you're reasonably sure you don't react to. So 1 protein, 1 fruit, 1 vegetable, 1 drink, 1 carb or grain, and just eat those until you notice that your symptoms start to subside or have subsided if it's quick. It took me about a week and a half before mine did. I used the go-to low histamine meal. I will link it in the cards up above. But it was boneless, skinless chicken breast cooked from frozen in the Instant Pot, white rice also cooked in the Instant Pot, and I started with peas and then switched to broccoli when I ran out of peas. Because, you know, this is real life and I don't have 2 weeks worth of peas in the house. Tip number 2, make sure you're giving your body what it needs to produce the DAO and the HMNT to process the histamine that you're consuming. Now, some people do take a DAO supplement. I have chosen to actually go ahead and just take the building blocks. So like this is rose hips for vitamin C. This is B100 complex. And I just work that stuff into my daily regimen. I have found that if I don't make sure that I have the nutrients that I need to produce the DAO, guess what? My body's not going to actually process the histamine because it doesn't have what it needs to. Tip number 3, implement strategies to reduce your exposure right away. Freeze your leftovers. Buy things that are already frozen, whether it's your vegetables or your boneless, skinless chicken items, that kind of thing. And then you can also replace canned goods with freeze-dried and dehydrated items. Just make sure that the dehydrated items are not gummy because you need that moisture out of there to prevent the histamine developing. Tip number 4, start working on trying to find what your root causes are. In my experience and observation, I've noticed that histamine intolerance isn't an end diagnosis. It's one of those things that's actually a symptom in itself to something else. So why do you have histamine intolerance? What kinds of things might be playing into that? And it's a wide variety of things that can cause histamine intolerance. So try and look back and see when you first started having symptoms, what changed, maybe get some testing done for something like Lyme or SIBO or some of those. Have a whirl at checking out YouTube videos on whatever you see that might be a possible root cause and see if those symptoms fit for you. Sometimes we don't really understand why something works or what fits, because we don't realize that we might be at a higher probability of having something due to something else. That's the way I was with my MCAS symptoms. I have Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, and I attended a conference last summer in my abundance of spare time and found out that MCAS is actually something that pops up symptom-wise in about 66% of EDS patients over the course of their lifetime. So I'm predisposed to MCAS symptoms simply because of something else that I know I have going on. And then that can lead you to some different food choices possibly. That's how I started learning about what lectins were and how they interact with my body. Tip number 5, learn from mistakes and try something else. This is definitely not a one-size-fits-all diet, and what helps one person might not help you. Even the different lists can't agree on what is or isn't low histamine because we all respond to things differently. So take that into account. If something doesn't work, take it out of your diet again,
pick something different. If you have a craving that you can't seem to get rid of, go ahead and plan ahead and just fix the craving instead of setting yourself off with an in-between that still doesn't fix the craving. You guys know that I was having a craving for McRibs a while back, and I was able to find a good alternative just by putting it in a lettuce wrap, doing the stuff at home that would give me that flavor combination. I also couldn't have fixed that craving anyways because they aren't serving McRibs right now. But over the last couple of years, I've had several instances where I started craving something and I would go out and have the better option, and it didn't really fix the craving for the texture or the flavor or whatever. And so it didn't really help. I still had the craving. A lot of times it set me off otherwise. Just go ahead, plan ahead, take an extra mast cell stabilizer if mast cells are an issue, take an extra vitamin C, eat real clean for a few days before and after, and then fix the craving. So that's it. 6 tips for starting out with histamine intolerance. Hopefully you got some good information out of it that you hadn't thought about before. And if you're looking for recipes, I come out with a new food video every Friday as part of the Raid Parade. If you would like to join us on that, go ahead and check out the live schedule on my About page. That first tab will have all of the channels participating.